Hi, welcome to DIY Homebrew. My name's Jay, and I'm going to discuss with you the different malt extracts for beer making. Now, last time in our previous video, we discussed how taking a heavy extract and putting it into warm water diluted it, and then placing that warm water that you heated on your stove into a fermenter that already has more water, just empty, clear water in it, would help dilute the malt extract that you're using to put in your fermenter. Now, malt extract is, again, as we discussed before, the essence of the grain step in brewing, where some people go full on and go all the way to the beginning and take grains and steep those grains in hot water for an hour and darken the water and break down the sugars within the grains to create the wort. We are just going to skip ahead from that grain part into the extract part. That means just skipping all the grains altogether. What we have now is a can of what's called malt extract. This is a thick, heavy syrup. There's a few different brands. Brewer's Best is one, Mr. Beer is another, Northern Brewer is another. There are a lot that you can Google, and just by getting on discussion boards and Facebook groups, you can find out a lot about what preferred methods there are. Now, there are two kinds of liquid malt extract. This is a syrup. There's hopped and unhopped. The hopped, as we discussed the unhopped last time, was really just the grain liquid with absolutely no hops, no bittering agents put in, and you have to boil this mixture for an hour, placing the hops in usually at about a 45-minute interval, and then in the last 15 minutes of a boil. The earlier and longer the hops are in the boil, the more bitterness it imparts. The shorter amount of time that the hops are in the wort, the less bitterness and the more aroma and flavor that it's going to impart. So the unhopped kind of liquid malt extract will always need hops to be bitter. There are some hopped malt extracts. Those come from Mr. Beer primarily. These are great for first step brews because you take a pot of water, and they have an instruction video online and you should follow their instruction, but you take a pot of water, about 4 cups, in a big enough pot that can handle more than that, a couple of times more than that, and you heat that water up to near boiling, you take it off the heat, and then you put in the syrup. And this hot water dilutes the syrup before you put that mixture into the fermenter that has cold water already in it. Now the reason for that is so that you don't melt your plastic fermenter and with hot water. So you're dumping diluted syrup water, wort, into more water, into topping it off with a little bit more water to get it to the 2-gallon mark. Unhopped, you would have to, again, boil the whole thing and put in the hops. It'd be about an hour-long process. Different recipes have different intervals. And then there's also dry malt extract. This is very fine stuff. This is basically sand. And it actually feels like creamer, like powdered creamer. And if you want to make beer with this, you absolutely have to hop it. There's no hopped version of dry malt extract that I'm aware of. So unless someone figures that technology out, they will make a mint. But the point is that it always comes in two versions with one subversion. The first being hopped and unhopped, and the second being liquid and dry. Now, why might you want to use both? Well, this one could be a dark syrup, and this one could be another shade of dark. This could be a Pils, and this could be a light, and you could mix those two together pretty well. You could mix basically anything. And if you think that you would like a stout syrup with a American Light, you could do that if you want. There's really no limit, although there are some general guidelines that you should follow when you're starting out, and these will take you on flavor profiles that'll make it easier to understand, which is why it's recommended you start with kits and you learn what the pieces are for. Now, one other thing I'd like to mention, people often get caught up on the water step with Mr. Beer, for instance, where the instructions on Mr. Beer say to take a pot, put in 4 cups of water, 4 cups specifically, and then to put in your syrup, your liquid malt extract, off the stove. Well, 2 things. One, you do that because you don't want the syrup to sink to the bottom of the stove and to burn. And it's only 4 cups. That would happen very easily. It would candify, like making candy, and caramelize on the bottom of your pan. But the other thing is, technically that 4 cup thing isn't an absolute. There are reasons to do 6 or 8 cups, but the point is that you're just mixing it enough to dilute it and to put it into a larger fermenter that already has cold water in it. We can discuss how to build your own recipe later, but suffice to say, I don't want new brewers to get caught up on that 4 cup thing. You should definitely follow the instructions as close as you can. If you goof up that part, it's not a big deal. Stay with the temperature parameters, keep it whatever the instructions say, but it's generally like mid-60s to mid-70s in a dark place, and your beer will come out pretty good. Malt extracts these days are quite a bit better than they were in ye olden times, as I'm told, and with a little bit of work and a little bit of practice and some heavy sanitation practice, which is what the kits are really great for, you can come out with a good beer. So maybe next time we can discuss recipe building or sanitation. We'll just see. There's lots of topics to cover. Remember, like, subscribe, share, and again, DIY Homebrew. My name is Jay. Have a good one.